Well, it's so good to be here with everyone this week. I know tonight is tonight's the Super Bowl, and so maybe a lot of people are busy with the Super Bowl. It's a really big deal here in the United States, and I was reflecting on that a little bit. That like what is it that people love so much about the Super Bowl? For most of us spiritual folks, we're not so concerned about watching a bunch of great athletes, run down the field in one direction or another. For a lot of people, it has to do with coming together as a community. And here in the United States, we don't always get together for religious holidays, but oftentimes we get together for football and for sports and for this type of thing. When I was younger, I used to be quite critical about that whole experience, but to me, it's a beautiful thing wherever people are coming together and just wanting to connect and share and break bread. And so, for all of you who are here, I just want to say hi, especially to Rhonda and Carlos, Romaine, Suzanne, welcome, and of course, Dawn and Regina, Jacqueline. It's so good to be here with you all. If any of you are wondering why I always look off to my side, it's because I have two computer screens running at the same time, and I have to look over to the side to see everyone who's here and present. So I thought I would just start by just inviting everyone just to close your eyes and invite God's grace, God's love. Invite the highest truth to awaken right here, right now. That we are coming together in the name of love, the name of truth. Coming together to experience that which is higher. So let us open our minds, open our hearts, open our bodies, and be receptive to the Most High. To the Most High. As a human being, we can be receptive to so many different things. We can be receptive to a big TV screen playing football. We can be receptive to, a pitcher of beer and chicken wings, or we could be receptive to something higher, to God's grace, to the love that's here in this moment, to the absolute spaciousness and freedom that all of us are in the deepest aspect of ourself. And so this time together on Sunday evenings, we're coming together, we're opening our hearts, we're saying yes to the truth, yes to the Most High, yes to that which is good and true and beautiful about ourselves. And so won't you join me in just opening, giving yourself full permission to feel your body, to experience what you truly are, beyond mind, beyond ego. What's here beyond that habitual voice in your head? What's here beyond that habitual movement of mind? Is there not something quiet and vast and spacious about what you are? And so we're opening to this goodness. We're saying yes, yes. And so we're not just sitting here stuffing ourselves full of pizza and popcorn and chips and watching football. We're saying, Lord, I want something higher. I want something greater. Show me what's truly possible for my life. How can I share this bliss, this peace, this freedom with my brothers and sisters? Can you help me, Lord, to be kind, to be compassionate, to forgive all those who I fought with? Can you help me to let go of any heaviness or any any mundane habits that continue to replay in the consciousness of my mind. And so this is our prayer this evening, or this morning if you're tuning in India or Australia. And we're inviting that which is holy to lead us first and foremost. You know, we see what we could be in the collective consciousness, at least of the culture here in the United States. You know, there's millions of people watching football. You know, could you imagine if millions of people were meditating together, praying together, opening their hearts together? What kind of world we would have and how the world would change if we were doing something that looked, you know, more like the movement of Christ here on earth, and less like the movement of cavemen, you know, just ramming into each other, chasing after a ball. It's a silly thing, you know, it's a silly thing. The way we relate in our collective consciousness. You know, throughout the week, just in different news feeds, there's been all this news about the Super Bowl commercials that will be played on TV, and how many millions of dollars are spent on, you know, these advertisements. And that, you know, it's supposed to be like, it's like the Oscars of commercials, you know, is happening tonight. But in a real sense, it's like, who cares? Like, what is our life really about? Like, are we really excited about commercials? Or are we excited about living from our highest? You know, true excitement is this movement of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm means to be in Theos, to be in God, to be connected with your Most High. Your Most High. And so each day when I get up, you know, I ask God, Lord, will you live through me? Will you teach through me? Will you speak through me? Will you act through me? Will you help me to forgive? Will you help me to live the Most High manifestation of myself? And of course, many times throughout the day, you know, I come up against, I'm challenged by the collective consciousness as it's manifest in my own psyche, in my own body. I run up against, you know, the thoughts of my ancestors as they present themselves within the psyche. And sometimes, you know, I choose the lesser. But when I do, I suffer. And so I realize, oh, this is painful what I'm doing or what I'm thinking. I don't want to do this. This isn't the Most High. And so then I reconnect. You know, I fall on my knees and I say, Lord, will you lead me? Will you guide me? Show me the way. Show me the way so that I may be your light in the world. Your light. And so this is a great prayer. It's a great attitude to have throughout life. It's asking God to come into you, to live through you. You know, in the world, in the teachings of non-duality, oftentimes they speak about this teaching that there is no doer. And by that I mean, it's this sense that if you're in your human self, your ego thinks it's the doer. But as you let go of that and come into the truth, you see that you are not the doer. You're not the one doing life. That God is doing life in you, as you. And so can we connect with this absolute divinity? Can we surrender fully? And let this movement of grace, this movement of higher intelligence live through us. Live through us. And as we do so, our life changes. Our world changes. In a sense, you become God here in a human body, here on earth, living your ordinary life, but having an extraordinary experience because you've let go of the collective consciousness. And so, this is the prayer that I always like to start my day with. Lord, you live through me. Show me the way. Show me the way. Okay, so just want to say hi to everyone who joined. Hi, Sean and Megan and Ivy, Ori, I hope I pronounced your name right, Sherry. So welcome, everyone. And so there's a bunch of questions I have from emails, but of course, if anyone who's in the live stream has a question, feel free to type it in the chat or ask for the microphone, and I'd be happy to meet with you. The first thing I want to say is just a couple announcements. Just a big thank you for everyone who supported the Satsang with their generous donations. So big thank you to David and Butch and Chris Dale and Brett and Marianne and Lynn. So thank you all so much for sending in donations. That's very helpful to keep the equipment up to date and so that we can put this show together and broadcast it out all over the place. So thank you all for supporting the Sangha. And of course, if anyone wants to make a donation, you can visit my website, craigholliday.com. Okay, here's the first question. Hey, Craig, I recently watched one of your videos about awareness. I had the experience twice of an open space. One time I was able to sit in this open space. I had control over it. And so I'm going to stop you there, my friend. We don't control awareness. Awareness is what you are. There's something quiet, that's awake, and that's aware, that hears the sound of my voice right now. Awareness is eternally present. Eternally present. And so he goes on. He said he had control over it. Excuse me. Then I gave it up and identified with my thoughts again. Do you think I lost awareness because of this identification? So awareness is always here. You cannot lose awareness. But what you can do is you can identify heavily in a limited way with your egoic consciousness. And this is where most of the people live throughout their day, throughout their week, is they identify with their personality, their small sense of self. And if you want to live in a small way, then identify with your ego. If you want to live in a big way, I'm going to encourage you to identify with your innocence. I like the word innocence rather than awareness, because if you feel into innocence, innocence has a softness to it, has a tenderness, a spaciousness to it. Innocence is absolutely inclusive. Most of us know when I speak about innocence, what that is. They come into their heart, they feel this gentleness. Innocence is awake, it's aware, it's precious. It's your true nature. Your true nature. So if I say the sound of your voice, if I say the sound of your name, it's awareness that hears the sound of your name. It's your innocence that hears the sound. And so the question is my friend Marcel, where are you identified? Are you identified with your egoic personality? Or are you identified with your innocence? Now Marcel sends me lots and lots of emails. And one of the things about Marcel is he has a beautiful heart. He's very sincere. But Marcel, I can tell from the tone of your emails that you send me, you always find a way to blame yourself. blame yourself, like blame your humanity for losing contact with your spiritual nature. This will never work, my friend. In fact, if you give yourself permission to relax the blaming, the self-judgment, the criticism, what you'll find is that you're left with innocence. You're left with this quiet, witnessing clarity, which is absolutely perfect, just as you are. Marcel, you have a beautiful heart. Can you reconnect with this beauty that you are, this innocence, this peace? It's okay to see that you've re-identified with your ego. But once you notice that, I'd invite you not to step forward into self-criticism, because if you're, say you're in the vast space of awareness, and then all of a sudden you notice you're starting to identify with your ego. If you choose to then criticize yourself, you will fully jump into the world of ego. But if we take the backward step and just notice, oh, I'm noticing my consciousness is a little bit more limited than it was a couple minutes ago. Who is it that noticed this limitation? Is that not awareness? Who is it that's awake? Who is it that's aware of the personality? Who is it that hears the sound of my voice right now? And so, my friend, can you step back into the truth that you are? Can you let go into the truth that you are and say yes? Yes to what's here. Yes. Okay, who is this here? Is there someone here who wants to speak? Let's see. If you have a question, please leave it in the chat, or Jesse, if you want to take the mic, just unmute yourself. Yeah, okay, there you are. Jesse, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Can Kundalini feel like an orgasm in your spine?
Yeah, that's a fun question, Jesse. Yeah. Say that again?
I had a ton of questions. Can the Kundalini feel like an orgasm in your spine?
Yeah. So absolutely, Jesse. So his question was, for those of you who couldn't fully hear it, was, can Kundalini feel like an orgasm in your spine? Yeah, people use that word orgasm because that's what it feels like to them. That's the kind of language they use. I normally don't use that type of language. With Kundalini, it will feel like a rush of energy going up your spine. That's one of the great ways we experience the Kundalini awakening. And so, for those of you who've never experienced that, you don't have to worry about it. But when God wakes up in a very, very energetic way, specifically in your spine and throughout the 7 chakra centers, we call that a Kundalini awakening. And sometimes it can be intensely blissful. It can often be very spacious and feel like incredible freedom. It can feel like cosmic consciousness. Sometimes people will experience great bliss, and then all of a sudden, as that bliss moves up the spine, they may just have like that experience, and then a couple minutes or a couple weeks later, they may feel themselves just plagued with darkness, or feel that their chakras have contracted, and then they go into this whole sense of, I've done something wrong and this and that. And if your Kundalini has awoke, it's good to have a teacher who understands Kundalini. Now, there's many teachers who They may know about non-dual awareness. They may know about peace. They may know about freedom or bliss, but they may not necessarily have had the Kundalini experience. And so if you're having the Kundalini experience, it's good to be with a teacher who actually understands it, who's been through the whole process, who can help you. Yeah, Jesse, do you have another question?
Yeah, I had a ton of questions. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll have you. I want you to think of 3 questions to ask, and we'll do 3 tonight. And then I have a bunch of others from other folks. But what's your next question, Jesse?
Well, if you can't feel like an orgasm in your spine, like an orgasm feeling in your spine.
Yes, absolutely. So if you look at instead of the word orgasm, I tend to call that bliss or euphoria. And when it comes with a rush up the spine, and it may make the body like shake and tremble, and so it can feel like that. Yes. So you have another question?
Yeah, it feels like a literal orgasm, but like an orgasm feeling in my tailbone.
Yeah, and that's very common for a lot of people. They'll feel that in their tailbone, and I've probably had over 100 people ask me that question or email me that question. Like I said, that's a common experience, and oftentimes that's just the beginning of the awakening, and then it may take anywhere from 3 to 15 years for that energy to fully complete itself. And basically what it's doing is it's waking up. It may rush all the way up the spine. It may just rush up to the heart. It may feel euphoric throughout the body. But then eventually, there's like the second wave of the Kundalini where, it starts to clear out and purify all the chakra centers. And then things tend to get a little bit messy or complicated or difficult. And, we tend to face our worst fears and, all kinds of things. So did you have another question around that, Jesse?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions.
Okay, what's your second question?
My second question is, I'm hearing demons.
Okay. Yeah. So, yes. Yeah. So that's a fun one too. So Jesse says you're hearing demons, and so sometimes when the Kundalini wakes up the third eye, what the third eye can connect you to is to all the other astral realms. Now, the general teaching that I'm going to tell you is just ignore all that stuff. Keep your feet here on planet Earth. And I want you to do whatever you can do to stay here in physical reality. When we start, opening up to those other realms, things can get just really confusing and overwhelming, when we open to the psychic realms. So in the psychic realms, there's heavenly realms with saints and sages. There's also lower realms that can be frightening and disturbing. And so the best thing is just to pay no attention to that, and just to let it pass by, and to get yourself really grounded here on planet Earth. The other thing, Jesse, is, when you have these types of experiences, I'm going to encourage you to spend some time, working with a good teacher, where you do one-on-one work. So that would be something beyond just like satsang, where you would need to do some deeper work so you don't get lost in these realms. Okay, so Jesse, I'm going to give you one more question.
I'm plagued by demons day and night, and these things really mess with me really bad. And they tell me that they're gonna get my thought form, or they said there's no such thing as spirit. They tell me that they're gonna get my brain after I die, and they're gonna.
Yeah. So none of this. So Jesse, none of this is true. So they may tell you that, but what I want you to imagine.
Synchronicities, like they give me a lot of synchronicities. Like I'll be at the store and somebody will wind up there.
Sure.
At the same, and I'll get, or something will be on TV telling me, oh yeah, they're telling me they're not demons. They're telling me that they're these archons.
Yeah, and so Jesse, I'm gonna stop you here. So I want you to, if you can just if you just look behind me, do you see the Buddhist Tonka behind me? Do you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. And so if you see there, so what we have there is we have one of the great protectors. And if you can see, she's riding a horse, she has flaming hair, she has all these skulls around her head. And one of the things that she does is she, in a real sense, she tries to scare away seekers on the path. The reason she's trying to scare them away is because she just wants people who are fully sincere and who are fearless to come forward. And so people who see her flames, who see the skulls, who are afraid of her fire and her fury, she scares them away. And the reason she's doing that is she's wanting to test you. I'm going to encourage you not to believe a single voice in your head, but the voice of truth. You let everything else come and go. If you only stay with the truth, you will stay in the, if you only listen to the truth, you'll stay in the world of the truth. If you listen to the crazy, yeah, you'll hang out in the lower realms and you'll spin around in the world of crazy. But I'm going to tell you this, my friend. You need. Say that again?
So you've heard of people hearing demons after they mess up their Kundalini?
Yeah, and so Jesse, I'm gonna just take the mic back and then just say this. So Jesse, it's a very common thing. It's a very common thing that people, when they open the third eye, they start to see things. They see good things, bad things, ugly things. Your job is to stay with the truth. And I'm just going to tell you again, Jesse, and I really want you to hear me. You need some good support. You need to get your feet on the ground. And I want you just to ignore all the psychic phenomena and stay with the truth. But, because of the tone of your voice and the way that, you are asking the question, I can just tell you need more support than just a simple answer, from, showing up on my Sunday evening broadcast here. What you need is you need some individual attention. You need to know that you are safe. And so one of the greatest things we can do for ourselves is to unplug from all that psychic energy and to self-soothe. I'll tell you a funny fact here. If you ever go to a psychic convention, you'll see a lot of the psychics are outside smoking cigarettes. The reason psychics smoke is they do it to help get themselves grounded, because oftentimes they find themselves just lost in these crazy realms. So many psychics develop an addiction, and that helps to ground them. Now, of course, this is not the healthiest activity. What I would much rather you do is for you to be practicing yoga, for you to be, I know it's the middle of winter, but like working in the garden, doing physical labor, and not paying any attention at all to the psychic realm. But you need a good team, a good support system to support you in staying here on planet Earth and not opening up to the astral planes. And if those planes are open, of just, gently patting yourself, through just keeping your feet on the ground and just staying with what's true. What's true, like what's real. And the only thing is real, I want you to imagine, I'm going to give you like a Zen definition of reality. Like a physical reality, something you can touch. Like this, like this desk, this body, this is real. All these thoughts and all this phenomena, none of that is real. And so you need to find a way to get yourself completely grounded and stay in the practical. So if you do work that's like carpentry or, just woodworking, staying here on planet Earth, washing dishes, you're here in this world. You're working with your hands, working with your body, and not paying any attention to any of that psychic stuff. So that is those are great questions, Jesse, but I'm just gonna leave it at that, my friend. You need individual support, to help get you grounded, and so that you're not getting lost in this realm. Okay, so next question. It's actually a similar question. This one's from Tatiana. Tatiana says, Craig, I was having out-of-body experiences. What does this mean from a Kundalini awakening perspective? Seems like my symptoms have subsided after having an out-of-body experience. This is a funny thing for me to be in this position of answering all these questions about Kundalini and out-of-body experiences and psychic phenomena. I never was interested in any of this. Never interested in any of it. But if you've been on the path long enough, you might find yourself opening to some confusing worlds. And so the big thing is, Tatiana, I'm going to tell you a similar thing that I told Jesse. Just get your feet back here on planet Earth. Sometimes when the Kundalini is rushing, it will kind of blast your consciousness out of your body, and you will start to have out-of-body experiences. But the best thing to do is just to get back grounded, your feet on planet Earth, and pay no attention to any of it. Pay no attention to any of it. You may have a wonderful experience, you may have a terrible experience like Jesse's having, but your job is to stay with the truth. If we focus too much on all these experiences, it's very easy to get lost in the world of cities and psychic abilities and astral planes. But all of this is, you can spend a lifetime just spinning out in those realms. Most of the people who get lost in those realms, they don't actually awaken to the truth. They just awaken to psychic realms. For me, I always wanted to awake to the highest. I didn't want cities. I didn't want to be involved in this thing and that thing. I always said, God, you show me the highest. You bring that which is true, that which is holy, that which is divine. You help me to open to your highest light, your highest grace. Make me a manifestation of peace and love and joy here on planet Earth. And so this was my prayer. I will answer the second part of your question. So Tatiana asks, seems like my symptoms, Tatiana has lots of symptoms of anxiety and intense Kundalini symptoms. One of the reasons those subside is when the Kundalini kind of blasts its way through all 7 chakra centers, it will empty out like a lot of the pressure of the Kundalini, and then you'll have some days or some period of time that it will be symptomless. And by that, I mean you will feel more spacious and free, and you'll feel less pressurized. By pressurized, I mean one of the things that the Kundalini does is it brings up all of our fears. Like in Jesse's case, it brings in these fears of being taken over, possessed by, devils or demons or whatever it is. And that's actually not even Jesse's fear. That's a collective fear that's within our culture, especially within the Christian and the ancient religious cultures, this idea of being possessed. So those fears are being brought forward to be seen, to be met with love, and to be met with equanimity. Equanimity is this presence of just seeing things as they are and not being moved. Not being moved. If you're moved by phenomena on the path, you'll be moved this way and you'll be moved that way. You'll be moved up and down and all around in every different direction. But this path that I'm teaching is a path where we are waking up to knowing ourselves as vast, spacious awareness. This expression of peace, this expression of love and compassion, feeling unified with all of life, one with all of life. It's a path where we are very grounded, where we are in our body. We are choosing to serve love here on planet Earth. And in order to serve love, we have to love ourselves first and foremost. We have to face our fears so we're not overwhelmed with anxiety or fear or heartache or or lost. We have to know what is our path and what is not our path. And so, Tatiana, you may have all kinds of experiences. You let them come and go. And you stay connected with that quiet presence of innocence. Okay, the next question here. Boy, I sure do have a lot of questions like Kundalini, but for all these questions like Kundalini, if it doesn't resonate to you, I want you just to imagine, instead of using the word Kundalini, just overwhelming spiritual experiences. So the next question, Craig, how do you work with Kundalini or overwhelming energetic experiences? Do we work with freeing the energy and healing or removing the blockage? So all a blockage is, and in this case, the person's referring to a blockage in the chakra system. All a blockage is repressed emotion and repressed karma. So I don't go into your body and remove a blockage. You know, some healers do that, but what you'll find is then a day or a week later, that just blockage comes back again. A blockage is simply repressed emotional energy. God wants you to do your own work. It can be helpful to have a teacher or a guide to show you how. And so how do we work with a blockage? Let's just call a blockage pain. Say, for example, pain in our heart. First, you witness it from a place of love and equanimity. And so you see yourself clearly. The same way if you saw a child crying in the street, you'd go up to that child, you'd pick her up. You'd bring her to a place that is safe. And you would look her in the eyes and say, what do you need? How can I help you? How can I love you? And so we ask these questions of our heart to help this energy move, help the energy empty out of us. When you meet old pain with love, it begins to move. Sometimes it will feel euphorically blissful. Sometimes it'll just be the experience of crying and grieving and letting go. So this is how we work with pain. This is how we work with pressure in the nervous system. So with Kundalini, oftentimes what Kundalini does is it puts a magnifying glass on any kind of old pain or old karma. And oftentimes because Kundalini, it's such a huge outside force, it's like God waking up in you. It's like the whole universe is giving birth in you. Your nervous system can freak out, it can clamp down, it can get really tight and stiff and tense. And so then we do a lot of work with teaching the nervous system to calm down. The more calm and relaxed the nervous system is, then the Kundalini can flow through you unencumbered. And so whether we're speaking about Kundalini or just having too many thoughts or anxious thoughts or painful thoughts or a broken heart or whatever it is, it's the same thing. You meet yourself with equanimity and then an absolute love. And you meet it and you say, yes, I'm willing to let go of this. I'm willing to let go. I'm willing to heal. I'm willing to face what's within me. But a lot of people get confused because the fear or the pain is too much and they get lost. They re-identify with ego. And part of my job is to remind you that you are a goddess. You cannot be taken over or possessed. You cannot get lost or overwhelmed by anything. For what you truly are is God. It's only the ego that gets overwhelmed, not your true nature. And so as a teacher, it's my job to show you the light, to show you what you are, to remind you of your strength, of your divinity, despite the pain that's moving through your body. Despite the pain. And so Annie goes on to write and says, Craig, and she wrote me a really long email telling me the details of her path, and it sounds like she's been through a lot. She says, I've been through so many things and spent so much money trying things that have had no effect. And the hell that I've got myself into remains the same. And a lot of people can feel like that, you know, when the Kundalini is awake and it's intense and they don't fully understand it. And Annie, I'll tell you this, you know, I've worked with thousands of people. And I can say with humility, I've supported thousands of people who've had this type of awakening. You're not alone. Your story is not unique. It's intense, but it's not unique. You know, and so there's a lot of people, I don't know who you've met with and who you've worked with, but one of the things that's necessary, because one of the things that's necessary is a commitment to the path. Choosing one path, choosing a support person, and going deep with that individual. With me, I spent 20 years with my teacher, Annie. Did it cost me some money? Hell yeah, it cost me a lot. But I am forever grateful for the 20 years I spent with him. Forever grateful. You know, I'm not telling you that you have to work with me, but if, you know, what you describe is nothing out of the ordinary for me. I know there's all kinds of people who say they know how to work with this, and they don't really. They just excite the energy. But my job is to teach you how to work with it yourself, so that you can eventually be an autonomous individual, a goddess here on planet Earth. How to relax your nervous system and open your subtle energetic body so it can receive what's trying to come through you. When God chooses you, you don't have a choice. You can try to resist, you can try to fight, but eventually God's going to win, whether it takes one lifetime or 100. You know, I don't like to spread things out over lifetimes. I like to, you know, jump in fully. And so, Annie, I found a way through what you describe. And I've worked with other people and taught them how to do the same. So if you want support, support is here. But, you know, it's just as much on you. Are you willing to commit to something? And again, it doesn't have to be me. I also recommend Bonnie Greenwell. She's quite good. But you want to have a good teacher who understands you, who knows your shadow, who knows your pain, knows your story, who can work with you. It can be really intense what God gives us here on planet Earth. And it's good to have support. Some people, they just need a book. You know, they can latch onto the Dharma, and that, you know, can take them most of the way. But most of us here on planet Earth, most of us, we need to give ourselves fully to a path. Give ourselves fully. And so, you know, I encourage you to find a teacher that your heart resonates with. And yes, it may cost some money, but a good teacher will not give up on you. I encourage you not to give up on yourself, not to lose hope, not to lose faith. Okay, let's see who else is here. Hi, Craig. I had the experience once when I started meditating in my third eye, and I experienced that I was in an open room without thoughts. Good. I could not keep this experience, however. Could you explain what kind of experience this was and how to get it back? You know, if you notice, your mind is always silent. The space of your true mind is always eternally silent. That there's something here right now that hears the sound of my voice. What is that? How big is that open space that you are? How vast, how free? Now you may put a limitation on awareness and say for awareness to be true there has to be no thoughts, and I'll tell you good luck. As a human being you are supposed to have thought. To try to live in a way with zero thought is to live outside the realm of God. God made thought. If you ever look at a thought, what is a thought? If you look into the energetics of a thought, you'll find thoughts are empty just like your mind. If you feel the energetic nature of a thought, you'll see it as empty, just like your mind. You'll find that thoughts and awareness are made up of the same material. Spacious intelligence. Now, some thoughts have a layer of habit on them. I call those habitual thoughts. But the more you give yourself permission just to pay attention to the space will grow. And eventually you'll notice that that space is not just silent. It is silence, but it is also intelligent. And so instead of trying to discover a place where no thoughts arise, I would much rather you pay attention to the space in which everything arises. Thought, no thought. Sounds, no sound. Phenomena, no phenomena. Psychic realms, no psychic realms. Can you notice that space? That there's this space that's eternally free always, eternally empty always. Don't fight with thoughts. If you fight with thoughts, you'll create a war you will not be able to end. Will not be able to end. Okay. Let's see here. Here's a question. Craig, I'm getting this overwhelming fear, anxiety, and I feel it down in my root chakra, my tailbone, and sometimes in my stomach. And almost all my thoughts support the fear. Is this a normal experience with Kundalini Awakening, and how long will it last? It will last as long as you believe those thoughts. Those thoughts are here to test you. You know, what kind of man are you on this path? What kind of woman are you? Are you a goddess? And are you connected to the truth? Or are you going to be lost in fear? Lost in fear. If you notice, there is a quiet presence here that's beyond the fear. There's something here that notices the fear. What's that? Who is it that notices the fear? What is it that notices the fear? Is that one? Is that one unharmed? Can the depth of your presence be harmed by fear? Or does fear simply arise, make loud noises, and show you scary things, and then disappear in the space of your presence? Be with what remains. Be with what remains. So many of us are stricken with fear, eternally lost in fear and confusion. And so many of us forget that there's a silent presence that's witnessing the fear. So instead of paying so much attention to the fear, so instead of looking outward at fear, look inward and see what is good about you, what is indestructible about you. Notice there's something here that's good. Let your body shake and tremble with fear and witness it with love. Take deep, full belly breaths. Calm the body. And as the body calms, what you'll find is your mind will become silent. If you attend to the body the same way you attend to a crying child, the mind will become quite silent, quite silent. Okay. So, let me just check here. Here's another question. Craig, is innocence absolute surrender? Yeah, that's a great question. Innocence is your nature. The way to realize yourself as innocence is to surrender to yourself. To surrender to that which is good and true and holy about you. That quiet presence of beauty that's looking out of your eyes right now. Surrender to this innocence, and know you are God. Know you are God. Know you are God. Okay, here's one last question from Tyler. I realize I have panic attacks and intense anxiety because I've suppressed a lot of anger. I believe this anger stems from childhood injustice, humiliation, and sexual and emotional abuse. What is the best way to deal with it? Tyler, I'm going to tell you to get some professional support from a counselor. When you have trauma in your body is supposed to have anger. That anger is working for the inner child, the one who was abused, and the anger is trying to get your attention. The panic attacks are just the old pain trying to get your attention. And I want you to imagine this. There's a little kid who was emotionally and sexually abused. And then he was told he's not allowed to have his feelings. He has to be quiet. And so when that kid grows up and he's around 18 or 19 or 20, or he becomes an adult, he starts to have this anger and panic come forward. That's the unresolved emotion within his body. It's a loving, compassionate thing to look at that anger, to look at the panic, to meet it with gentleness, with compassion, to take deep, full belly breaths, to meet with a good, loving, compassionate counselor or healer or psychotherapist or whatever it is. See a trauma therapist, get some support for this pain. Help them teach you how to release it. I do this type of work each day with my students and clients. When we have this pain within us, it covers our chakra centers, and then it makes it, that creates veils between us and our divinity. So the more trauma we have in the body, the more veiled we are from our divinity. The anger doesn't mean you're bad. The panic attack doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means there's pain within you that's trying to release. That's what panic is. Panic is old pain that's trying to release. It's trying to empty out of your nervous system. So I recommend you do yoga, meditation, any kind of somatic healing. Use the TRE method. You can Google that and find that on YouTube. It's kind of a somatic healing practice. Light, gentle yin yoga, massage therapy, body work. Learn to self-soothe, be kind and loving to your body, these types of things. And this will be good. This will be healing for you. Okay, yeah, this is from Annie. Colin Tipping's Radical Forgiveness Facilitation can be really helpful for this. Yeah, forgiveness work can be really helpful, and so you might look that up. It's called Radical Forgiveness Facilitation. And any kind of forgiveness work can be helpful. But before we forgive, if you've been sexually or emotionally abused, or just any kind of abuse, it's good to give yourself permission to be angry first. It's one of the stages of grief. It's the stages of letting go. You have to give yourself permission to be angry, to be sad. That's the energy just starting to empty and release out of your consciousness. Then we can move into forgiveness. Sometimes we try to forgive prematurely, and then that just keeps the pain repressed within our nervous system and our consciousness. Sometimes we can forgive from our adult sense of self, but our body is still holding the pain. And so the body has to be given permission to naturally release the pain first, through whatever means possible. Normally it's shaking, it's tears, while simultaneously self-soothing the body to help it release. But Tyler, it sounds like you need some support, my friend. I had to go through similar thing on the path. I had a lot of trauma in my body. I had to spend a lot of time with people helping me to learn how to release trauma and then eventually move into the space of forgiveness. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself of letting go of the past and emptying all that pain out of you. And so anyways, I want to thank you all. Thank you all for joining me this week. Again, this webcast is supported by donation. And in a week and a half, I'm going to be starting a Wednesday night meditation class. So not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I'll be starting that. And so I look forward to seeing you there. That meditation class, it'll be by donation only. So you join by offering a donation. And it'll be a smaller group, and it'll be an hour long. So anyways, you can visit my website. I'll have details on that in the coming week or so. And the big thing that I'm going to invite all of you just to sit with is this quiet presence that you are. This quiet, innocent, awake, aware presence. A presence that chooses to live here on planet Earth. This is the true doer. When you realize yourself as God, realize yourself as the Most High, you step into a place of choice and you choose to live from your heart. Not from the mind, not from ego, but we're choosing to live from the Most High. I'll leave you with that. Leave you with that. There's 1,000,001 choices to make throughout the day. Can you choose your heart and live from the Most High? Thank you all. May peace be with you all. And congratulations, whoever won the Super Bowl. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to both teams who made it, And may love be with you all. Peace be with you. Good night.